It's another fine week for DC Comics. This is the comics podcast from Mild Fuzz Network. We call this concoction Comics from the Multiverse. I'm Peter, and joining me as always is Matt Sculthorpe.
Well, that was an unconventional intro.
I like to be unconventional. I like to change things up. And also returning this week after a week of absence is the Ginger Menace, Connor Ryan.
So I'm glad Matt was confused as well then, because I was thinking, wow, how much did I miss? Change everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a different intro last week as well.
Well, I gathered now because Matt was confused as well. But at first, you were just like, "Oh, it's the comics podcast." And you just like, I was like,
I almost
"Wait,
took
we
the
just changed the name."
Nerdist thing. Did we start? Like, you know?
Yeah, well, we started. We're in the flow now.
Gotcha.
This is into the show.
Well, that's good stuff.
Yeah, so this is kind of a shambles. It's sometimes not a shambles. We talk about DC Comics every week. We started with Rebirth, and we've been going ever since, and that's what's happening. So this week we've got a bunch of books to talk about, of course. That's the whole point of the show. It's the main thing we do.
Yep.
And this week's books, we have Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Rebirth Issue 1. The Hellblazer Rebirth Issue 1, that's the two new books we've got this week. Plus we also have Batman Issue 3, Superman Issue 3, Justice League Issue 1, Green Arrow Issue 3, Green Lanterns Issue 3, and Aquaman Issue 3. So you can use the timestamps, which I always put in the description, if you need to skip certain books for fear of spoilers, or if you just don't care, or just listen to or watch the whole thing because you like us. That's nice too. We appreciate that too. Now, Comic-Con's going on right now. Like, that's happening right as we speak. In fact, the Warner Brothers movie, like, DC panel thingamajig is starting about now. So, by the time we finish recording, there should be new DC movie things announced or revealed or whatever. Not that we'll be talking about that one here specifically, but there might be more DC Comics related stuff coming out of Comic-Con, so we might have more to talk about next week. The only thing I thought was worth talking about from the last day or two is that DC Comics get a new exclusive creator. They've actually signed another exclusive contract with someone. And I say creator rather than writer or artist because this person does both. It's Joelle Jones, who I don't know very well, but she did do issue 3 of Superman American Alien. The art, I assume, because Max Landis obviously wrote it.
Yeah.
Which one was issue 3?
That was one on the boat.
Oh, that was great.
My favorite one issue. So.
Was that your favourite issue of American Alien?
Yeah, I liked because it dealt with them having a conversation. Barbara Minerva and Clark Kent. So, yeah.
Cool. So, no, I think this is cool. It shows that they are trying to nab more people who can make their books good. So, they've not announced anything that she'll be on as of yet.
Yeah.
But it'd be fun to speculate a little bit.
They might add it to one of the rotating art teams.
They might do that. She might end up being on one of the new books that's not been announced yet, or something like, I don't know. I actually, it's when I realised she did that boat issue of American Alien, my first thought was, she would draw a good Shazam.
I can also see them just giving her one of the a new mini to do. Just do it by herself, like as a writer artist thing, just by her.
Yeah, I could do that, but given that they've signed her as an exclusive, I'd imagine they have reasonable plans for her over the next few years. So
I'm sure they do.
So that was one bit of news that's at Comic-Con that I thought was worth mentioning before we get going. There might be more that we can talk about next week. As I say, Comic-Con's like right in the middle of everything right now. So let's go on to some books. We had two new books this week. First off is Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Rebirth Issue 1, written by Julie and Shawna Benson and art by Claire Rowe. And I was looking forward to this. I've missed having a Batgirl book to read. We're going to have two. Because we've got the other one next week. So this, of course, is Batgirl reteaming with Black Canary and Huntress to hunt down someone who is posing or pretending to be Oracle. The crime network that she ends up dealing with is getting their information from Oracle, and that's kind of the setup for the story. Now, I am going to start with a negative point about this book. I do have issues with the art.
I do as well.
Yeah, it was kind of spotty in most places.
Now, I think some panels look quite good, but there's one consistent problem that I have throughout the issue, and that's the mouths of characters. I think their lips are really weird, and I think, actually, see on the page after the title page, and the top panel is Batgirl sort of jumping down and kicking someone in the face. I don't know what expression her mouth is supposed to be making there, but it looks really creepy.
It does. I think they all do that. Even the panel below that, she looks like really pouty.
Yeah.
And also in that one, her whole body posture is just weird. Like, her neck seems really low down and tucked in, while she's got an outstretched arm. Like, it's just, there's a lot of that throughout the issue, I think.
It's almost like they're going for like a sort of boxing pose there, like when like a sort of like low jab kind of thing.
Yeah, but it just doesn't work.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think typically the costume looks good, and I think when we're not seeing mouths too much, like I think the flashbacks look mostly good.
Yeah. It's telling that one of my favourite panels is her covering her mouth.
Yeah, I agree, actually. That's a good panel. So yeah, the book actually, it's a Rebirth issue, so they do the whole thing where they catch everyone up to speed, and they give you kind of a brief history of Batgirl. I actually really like that we get to see what her like original outfit was now, because obviously continuity's like chopped and changed so much. I like getting a little glimpse of her in her like old grey suit, you know. I think that's pretty cool. But it just gives you like a thing, and I like that it sets up that her dad's her hero as well as Batman. Like they're both influences. Like that's a big point she makes, and it's nice to have Batgirl back like that. And it clearly explains Killing Joke happened. She was in a wheelchair. She was Oracle, which is obvious given the premise of the book. But the New 52 book was messing around with that a little bit for a little while.
Yeah, towards the end they started like debating whether or not it was retconning it.
Yeah. So it also explains how she ended up teaming up with Black Canary, formed the Birds of Prey, and all that, and that's all cool because it sets up everything. Yeah. And it's nice that when this situation comes up, she goes back to Dinah to like help her solve it. Like, you know, that friendship's an important part, and I actually ended up really liking this book because I think, as much as I have some grievances with the art, I think the character relationships and the dynamics are all really strong. And I think it's great to have Barbara back where I'm not cringing constantly. Because they set up in this that she's really good with technology, but they're not shoving fake Facebook and fake Twitter and QR codes down as every 2 panels.
I'm trying to think of the word. It's not quite quirky, but like the last Batgirl, the whole Burnside stuff was meant to be like, well, look how relevant we are with what's going on nowadays. And, you know, like Pete just said, they try to force feed it. Like, I remember you telling me that she defeated a villain with a QR code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's what made me not check out the whole Burnside stuff. And because I don't want to use the hipster word, but that's kind of what it was, you know?
It's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And same with Black Canary, which I was really on board for the art. And the whole she's in a band thing was just so weird. And I'm glad that they've put that behind here.
Yeah. I mean, they've still got it in her history, but yeah, she's moved on from it. I like that they go back to a clock tower, which is cool.
Yep.
Nice bit of Birds of Prey, you know, imagery there that we like seeing. And obviously Huntress, who we set up as leaving from Nightwing Rebirth issue 1 last week. I actually really like her introduction scene. She's in a confessional.
I love that's like some of the best art. I think it's the colours as well really makes it pop.
Yeah, it's all the sort of the orange squares from the grating on her, but she's got all the purple, so it looks really nice. Yeah.
And we have Helena Bertinelli back because this is when she was first introduced. You know, the Huntress, not as the Elseworlds, you know, daughter of Batman and Catwoman version. This version, you know, her father was involved with the Mafia, and now she's gonna atone. The only way she knows how, and that's with crossbows. Yeah,
because that's the whole thing, is you find out that the person she's talking to is someone who she just came to target because they're doing whatever. I can't remember what she says they did, but... and then it nicely converges the 2 stories, because they've... Batgirl and Black Canary have tracked this guy, and that's the next person on her list, so the 2 stories nicely converge. And I really like them fighting together and their banter. Like, you know, her saying, you don't really need me, but then she saves us like, yeah, look what I did there, you know, and things like that. There's some good fun playing between them in that sense. So I like that this it still feels like it can appeal to a young audience, but it's not alienating me.
Right. Well, and that's what this is what a Rebirth issue should be, where it addresses the past but sets up stuff for the future. Like, it didn't feel like this was just an issue 1.
No,
like
definitely
some of the others
not.
have. So
No. At the same time, though, it still feels more relevant to the next issue than a lot of the Rebirth ones have, because it feels like it feels like it's going to continue right from where it left off. You know.
Yeah. See, the thing is, the art really took me out of this, the whole issue. It stopped me enjoying it quite a lot. Even though I agree with everything you're saying here about the character relationships or the dynamics, and they are great, but I just didn't enjoy it that much because I was constantly just taken out of it. Like every other page, it felt like.
It didn't. I mean, I had issues with the art, but it didn't do that to me. Like, I still really liked the book overall.
Every action sequence, I was just like, ugh, it was a chore to get through.
See, I read this at 4:30 in the morning, so I was just trying to get through it when I read it. So, eating breakfast, reading comics. So the art, I did notice it in spots, but it wasn't a deal breaker. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not a deal breaker for me either. I mean, I wish it was better, obviously, but
Of course. I mean, the cover art looks fantastic. Like, but it's Yannick Paquette, so what else?
Yeah, there are bits in there that look really great, but then there's other bits that just I have to like make myself read the panel 3 times just to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, obviously I want good art, but I can get through bad art if the writing's really great.
Yep.
More than I can get, like, if the writing's bad and the art's good, I can read the book. Like, I don't
That's
care.
why I dropped Eternal. Yeah, because I couldn't take. Funnily enough, that the Batgirl down in Argentina issue, and just the art I thought was god awful, and it stopped me from wanting to read Eternal because I'm like, well, if there's gonna be every other issue looks like this, then it's not worth a weekly. So.
In the end, though, I did quite like the book. I actually really enjoyed it. I just have those big issues with the art.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I liked it, but I didn't love it by any means.
Alright. Well, that's Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. That'll take us on to the Hellblazer Rebirth issue 1, which is written by Simon Oliver and art by Moritat. So, well, I'll start by saying I don't really like Constantine as a character.
That's because he's a dick.
Nope, because I will second that.
Oh, here we go.
God damn it.
Yes!
And that's mainly because I can take a dickishness with tongue-in-cheek. Like, I love Booster Gold because he's pretty much unaware of himself. Constantine very much knows how much of a dick he is.
See, that's what I love.
Well, see, and that's fine. And, for our friend Alan, that's his favorite character of all time. Which, knowing Alan personally, I always find weird that he loves this dickish character so much. But yeah, I found myself finding it hard to care as this went on.
I echo that sentiment. I don't think there's anything wrong with this in terms of like objective, just looking at it as terms of writing and art. There's nothing really wrong with it, but I didn't care, like, ever. And there's something about the character that I just don't like that much, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because he's too much of a loner, or maybe it is his attitude, maybe it's, but I don't know. And I feel like they play up the whole English speaker a little bit too much for my liking. Like, I feel like they're really we need to put
that didn't bother me too much because that just put some flair onto the characters because they were in London, But again, I don't live it like you guys do, so it's not, the dialect didn't get to me. What did get me, though, is in character choices, him going back to London and basically sacrificing all the inhabitants of London.
Potentially, yes.
And I never at one point thought that that's not something he wouldn't do. Like, if this gamble doesn't pay off, he's kind of like, well, there goes all the souls of London, whatever. On to the next thing.
But see, this is what I like with him, because it feels like when you're reading this story that if it does go tits up, it could do, and he's like he's willing to put the stakes like that almost, so it actually kind of makes it a bit more interesting to read.
Yeah, but what's his contingency if it doesn't work out?
Well, he
Like,
doesn't.
has the
That's the
risk.
point. And then he thinks of something. Like, then you got to do something else.
But
But
that's the whole thing. I find it hard to go with the stakes because as much as I think that he doesn't care, I don't think the writer's ever going to pull that trigger. Now, I don't know Constantine that well.
all right,
This is really the
maybe not on the
first,
entire city of London. Sure,
you know
but
what I mean? But like last, the most Constantine I read was in Justice League Dark, and I thought Lemire wrote him well, but that's because he was playing off of everybody else. He was very reactionary towards Zatanna and Deadman and all
yeah.
of them. Here, him having to drive the story, I just again like I want to know what the Indian food had to do with everything. Like when he tells his friend when he gets there, he needs this Indian food and chalk.
Vindaloo, I believe, was the.
Yeah, chicken vindaloo, and
Because he wants a curry. That's very British.
I get that, but as a reader who's new to Constantine, going, does Indian food have magic in it? Why is he? Because very clearly he's there to settle the score from earlier in the
See,
book.
I don't know if that's just because you're not as familiar with Constantine, or just because you're
That's yeah.
American. I feel like I don't know, Pete. As someone who's British, someone going, "I need a curry. I want a curry." That feel just
Change that out for burrito and I'm fine. Like I get it.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah.
bother. Yeah, it didn't bother me. I think when I go back to speaking about too much English speak, I think it's the kind of thing where it's not necessarily inaccurate. Like if you actually recorded this like, as a TV show, whatever live action, it wouldn't really bother me the amount that's there. But when you're actually writing it out and you see it written down constantly, it feels more in your face. Because
Yeah.
one of my big pet peeves actually on the internet, and people are just going to do this now to annoy me, is when people actually write in slang. Like, I get why people say things the way they do, and this is including people from Scotland. You know, you'll say "tay" instead of "to." So I went to the shop, instead of I went to the shop. It's just slang, right? But see people who actually write "tay," T-A-E, drives me up
that's
the
just
nut.
adding your own personalized voice to what you're saying. I mean, obviously
it's-
not in like a formal thing, but if you're saying it to friends, it makes sense.
No, it annoys me. It annoys me on Facebook. It annoys me on
Well,
Twitter. I hate it.
but here's the thing. That means you're going out of your way to add an extra letter to a two-letter word.
Exactly. That's what annoys me
Alright,
about
You know
it.
what I mean?
in that situation,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
And
but
I
here again, I thought it added flair to the book. That So, but again, this is one that it didn't resonate with me. Like, I thought the ending was cool, with the girl that does show up and the whole knowing the demon's name gimmick that we get all the time. So, but yeah, just again, not for me. Nothing bad, but this is not something. If we weren't doing the podcast, I would have picked up.
I'm not continuing this. I have no interest in reading any more of it. I will say this is a really weird place to see Shazam for the first time in Rebirth.
Yeah, and a Shazam that seems to have a grip on everything.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of trying to tell Wonder Woman what to do, and it's like last I checked, bro, you're 13 years old. You don't tell the Amazon goddess what to do. And then Swampy shows up, which I thought was cool.
Well, I know Swamp Thing's going to be one of his like main supporting characters in the
Yeah.
first arc or whatever. So
I almost wish that this wasn't a Rebirth book and this was in Gerard Way's Young Animal.
That would be cool.
Because I feel they could have gotten away with a lot more. I did like when there were swear words, they replaced them with skulls.
yeah, that was
But
alright.
I still read them as swear words anyways. So it would have been
Well,
just nice,
yeah.
and if in that you could have just had it there, you know.
It's true. I don't know. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Pete. If you think, you shouldn't write it as much as like that, like where it sounds British, how do you differentiate dialects in written comics then, other than doing that? Like, how do you say this is like England and make it abundantly clear that this is a different place to, say, New York? Other than just saying this is England, but not feeling any different.
I think there's a difference between slang and dialect.
Like,
Because when it's dialect and you're reading it, then you get that thing. It's like when they used to when Morrison was writing Flash, and he was using their Mirror Master, whatever the Scottish guy's name was. I can't remember off the top of my head.
McCulloch, I believe.
Yeah, so he would speak with a Scottish dialect.
Yeah.
And
Oh, to be fair, one of my not so much Morrison's, but when I read Jonesy's Flash and I read
Yeah.
his dialogue, it sounded more Irish to me.
Yeah, right.
But I mean,
Well, it's because you have someone that's not skilled in it like Morrison is. You know, Morrison was raised around different dialects, whereas Johns was raised in Michigan, where you get one if you're lucky. You know what I mean?
Because, but to go back to Connor's question, I don't know. I think it's fine to use, like, obviously if you use different words for things, like, you know, if it's in the UK, you say shop instead of store, you say car park instead of parking lot, things like you can do that stuff because that's the words we actually use. But when you actually put in weird spellings of things to make them slang or make them sound like people like say it, just kind of annoys me. Do it in the art. Show me a different colour, because you know, if you're in Los Angeles versus you know, London's a lot greyer. Make everything greys and things like that.
Sure, but I feel like this is a weird complaint because I see it in comics set in America all the time, like where they put like y'all.
Well, yeah, but again, that's just like a little bit. My problem here isn't they did it at all. My problem is that it just felt constant. I felt like almost every line of dialogue, it felt like had a Britishism in it. And it annoys me.
Can't say I really noticed it that badly. I mean, there's a few instances where I point out, but not that much.
Like I say, mostly I'm just nitpicking because I wasn't enjoying the book. Let's be honest. I can acknowledge my biases here.
See, you've got a whiskey drinking magic guy who's, you know, playing it a bit loose, and demons. I'm in, really.
I don't know. You know, I'm not a magic guy in general.
Which is weird to me because you love Buffy.
I do love Buffy, but see, this is the thing. This is how magic's not the focus of that show, though.
That's true.
Because you've got the core focus of that show is you've got a family group of characters, which is something I love. I love an ensemble like that, right? Versus Constantine, which is a single character. But you also have a specific focus where the main villain tends to be vampires, right? And then they built the mythology around that. So you've got demons, and because of all that exists, you do have magic, but magic is not as prominent. Whereas with something like Constantine, and from what I've seen of the show, it just feels like
magic.
Deus Ex Machina stuff popping up everywhere because they can just pull out anything out of their hat, you know?
That's fair.
See, usually I feel the same way, but like I'm reading at Marvel Doctor Strange, and that's mainly just because of Aaron. But he's not doing the Deus Ex, you know, stuff.
But again,
at least not yet.
I read one issue of that and hated it. So.
And you didn't like it, so which I get, but yeah, because I like more fantastical element stuff. Like I love Demon Knights when it was out.
Yeah,
I think,
and you know, but it just has to be a certain brand to it. And I mean, again, Constantine's not a character that I enjoy.
Also, magic tends to work better for me when it is more. And I know Constantine is to a point, but like when it tends to veer towards horror, where more of it's a mystery, I tend to enjoy it more. Like a ghost in a house where you only, you know, get glimpses of it or hear a little bit of it, and it's not like super the ins and outs of how it works. Tends to be more enjoyable. Like it's what you don't see that's more effective.
Sure.
Whereas this, you've got this guy who apparently just knows so much about it that he's dealing with all these things, with all these little tricks that he's pulling out his ass that I've never heard of, you know? Like,
well, and at the end of the day, he is a con man. So, like, that was driven home multiple times throughout this issue.
Yeah. Do you know what I think it is? I think I don't like that style as well. Maybe that's why I don't like Constantine that much, is I don't like the whole, like, the con man, like, tricking the audience thing. Because they do it a lot, where they'll... Like, I saw that movie with Will Smith and Margot Robbie last year. I can't remember what it's called now.
Focus.
There you go, that one. And you kind of feel like as they're doing scenes, the whole point of the scene is to trick the audience, so there's a little twist at the end where they reveal the real plan. And and sometimes that can work, but I feel like when you do it constantly with a character like this, I think that's just another reason why I don't like him that much.
Yeah.
Sure. I will say I felt the ending itself was a bit weird, where he talks to the audience. That was a bit strange.
Yeah.
It felt out of place for the rest of the issue.
Also, not to get political, but there's a dig at Donald Trump in the opening pages about why he's leaving New York.
Yeah, well, I can get behind that. Yeah. I'll give them that.
But a sausage-fingered real estate tycoon and former bad meat salesman. And I thought, I went, oh, okay. Well, this is what type of writing we're in for.
I mean, if you like this book, then by all means, I'm not dissing it to like where you should. I don't think you should be reading it. But as far as this podcast goes, the only one you're going to hear about from is Connor.
and again, that's why it's weird. Is like Rebirth's just been focused on superheroes. Constantine's not a superhero, so it's weird for him to be included in all of that.
Yeah, I do still think he should just be in Vertigo or a separate line. Like he shouldn't be in DCU.
I still agree with that. I think, but if obviously Swamp Thing is now a kind of big part of the DCU lately, and they play off together. I really like seeing him with Zatanna.
Well, that's another thing. I don't really think Swamp Thing should be part of the DCU either.
Maybe not, but I think he's worked pretty well in it for the last few years. So,
But he's always off. He's always been off by himself. Like in the last run that Soul did, Superman showed up at the beginning, but from there on out, it's not like
You're thinking
Swamp Thing needed...
Snyder.
No. Superman showed up.
Yeah, he showed
in
up
Soul's first run.
He showed up in the first issue. Oh, he showed up in the first issue of Snyder's Swamp Thing.
Well, he did both then, because he was in Soul's thing as well, I'm sure.
Because Soul showed the there was this whole thing where Swamp Thing didn't think of himself as a hero, and like Superman is, but when there's something Superman can't handle, he has to call him like Swamp Thing. So there was like this yin yang thing of him that I really liked, but from there on out, he never really got involved with any of the other heroes. It was all just his own thing, which again could have just been Vertigo.
Yeah.
So.
Alright, there's Hellblazer. Kind of liked it.
It's a good issue. What I don't understand your problem.
Yeah, it's just again not my thing. If you want to read it, go ahead. You know what I mean? Not just you, Connor, because I know you're gonna do whatever.
Yeah, I tried. Like I really did. Like I never really read. I'd read Justice League Dark when Lemire was doing that, but I never really tried to read Constantine before, and I tried with this issue. I really did, and I just didn't care the entire time.
In a little preview, if you guys think we're being a little bit too negative right now,
just wait till next week.
Yeah, from He Who Must Not Be Named, from that we all have to read, and so hopefully we're all on the same page there, and there's not one of us that has to do the I kind of liked it. So
if there is, it'll be Connor. Let's be honest.
Oh come on, I'm not that bad. Look,
we set that up last week. Go back and listen if you haven't.
I still need to listen to it and see what that was about.
That's right. Yeah. Connor's opinions at the end of each book last week went into one or two categories. Either he's been a negative little bitch about something that we were quite positive on, or he just reiterated the exact same things we just said and it was pointless.
That wasn't my fault. I didn't know what you guys were going to say.
You went to Star Wars Celebration. It was your fault.
That was booked like a year before they even announced Rebirth.
Truth. Because as soon as it was announced it was in London, Connor goes, I'll see you guys there or not. I don't care. I'm going.
I literally had tickets booked the day they went on sale. So, fuck you guys. Well, mainly Pete, because Matt was in full support of Star Wars.
Yes I was. Anyways, next book.
Yeah, that's Hellblazer. Connor will give us thoughts on it every time it comes out then.
Is that single or double shipping? Because actually, I don't know.
Most of the Rebirth books are double, but who knows?
I can tell you if you stall for about 5 seconds.
I'm inclined to think it's double because it has a Rebirth issue.
Yeah,
but maybe not. I don't know. I didn't think to check ahead.
It appears to be single.
Yeah,
single. Okay.
Well, that's disappointing.
For you, probably, but not not so much for me. I don't care.
You will care when Batgirl's only single shipping.
Oh no, I do care about that. But at least there's 2 Batgirl books, so I can.
Yeah, fuck you.
I can live with that.
So Speed Force is more like the Ginger Zoom Force today.
I know he's been a nice little salty ginger, isn't he? Actually, was it Matt I was talking to last week who never heard of the phrase salty before?
No, definitely not me.
Who was it? That was Tim. It was Tim. I was recording Screams with Tim, and he never heard of being salty before, and he was like, "Is this a weird British thing?" I'm like, "No, it's not a British thing."
Tim. I said a thing to Tim. This is a bit of a sidetrack, but Domino's here. You can add a special message, like if there's any extra directions, like your gate code or which apartment, to knock on. And all that was listed on this pizza from Domino's was "Please present pizza sexually." that had Timmy written all over it.
Present pizza sexually with a hint of goat. That's Tim's. Alright, let's get on to some actual more books. Tangenting too much here. Batman issue 3 by Tom King and art by David Finch. Back to the world of double shipping, and this was maybe the best issue of this so far.
Definitely by art, I will say. This is the best Finch's arts look. Finch. I get them all confused. The Ferreyra guy. That's who did this.
Finch.
And considering that this book in general has been his best work, That's really saying something.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree with that. The art is the best, but for me, the reason why this is the best is they took Gotham and Gotham Girl, and two characters who were essentially just plot devices, right? It's they've got these blue and yellow costumes, they're here, they're this thing for Batman to either overcome or figure out or whatever, and they made me care about them in one issue.
Yeah.
I like these characters now.
Well, and I like that they didn't draw it out. Like, who is Gotham and Gotham Girl? They straight up told you here with the flashback, and it was nice. And then with the way that it ends, you know there's definitely more to their story because they leave Gotham and come back with powers.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a bit of mystery because we don't know how they have powers yet, but I actually really like that they're inspired by Batman, and in the sense that not in the same way that like Batgirl was or whatever, but in the sense that
Robin.
when they were kids, he saved them in a very similar situation. Because actually, when the issue started, and I guess they were going to swerve it, and it wasn't going to be that, but for a couple of panels, like, wait a minute, are they telling us how his parents get shot again?
It's maybe until you see the other necklace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, it is. Because when I looked for pearls, because you can see the necklace on the mom, that it's there, but you can't tell what it is. So when I turned the page and saw that it wasn't pearls, I went, oh, thank God. Because I don't need to see this again. And it has a completely different ending. And I did have a little bit of problem with the dialogue because at first I thought it was coming from Bruce. Because he's usually the narrator of these things. And I was just like, it's very unbecoming of Bruce or Batman to say piss.
Oh, but that's a null point, though, because it's not him.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then when I got to the other, I was like, oh, okay, this makes a lot more sense. So there was a lot of... Yeah.
Yeah. There was
a lot of that swerving going along. And also, if you guys live in Gotham, just stay away from alleys. Like, it's not that hard. No one lives off of an alley in Gotham.
It's like, all these lazy people taking a shortcut and...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, admittedly, they might feel safer because this is now a world with Batman in it, and maybe crimes went down a bit. It doesn't feel as dangerous.
Still, it's Gotham. Like...
I'll be honest, at first I didn't realize it was a flashback. Even when we saw Batman, I thought it was still present day. I thought there was a bit of a colouring mistake. I was like, where's the yellow around the bat and the purple on the cape? I was like, that's weird. And then it got a couple of pages later and it says now. I was like, oh, okay.
See, I actually like that they didn't tell us it's flashback. One of my... It's not quite a pet peeve. I actually said this about a TV show last week on Almost Cancelled, that I like it when they give us a flashback but don't tell us it's a flashback and let us figure it out as we go by the storytelling. And I like that they did that here. It wasn't a Gotham 12 years ago or whatever, it would be. It was...
They let you uncover it.
Yeah, I like that. I really like how it lets figure it out.
If you're... Even if before you get to the now, if you're not as stupid as me and just think there's been a mistake, the colouring tells you straight off.
Connor, we've been conditioned the last 4 years to think that it might be a mistake. So in all fairness, but now we have to uncondition ourselves.
Hell, I'm conditioned to think that Connor's a mistake, so...
Well, that's because you have a bias against gingers. So...
Nah, see, I've known Connor long enough now. This is not about bias against ginger people. This is just Connor.
This specific one is, but you still have this bias against gingers on top of that.
Not really. I just like making jokes.
So, does this feel like an arc from like a lost episode of Batman the Animated Series to you guys? Because it kind of does to me. Like, it's not taking itself too seriously like Snyder's Batman had done. There's a little bit more levity in these things, and like Matches Malone showed up.
Yeah.
It wasn't the last time we've seen Matches Malone.
Yeah, Bruce in disguise as Matches Malone. In fact, when was the last time we saw Bruce even disguise himself?
It's been a while. I want to say it was at the beginning of Zero Year.
It happened a handful of times in Snyder's run, but not often.
Yeah.
No, and so when I saw the match in the guy's mouth, I go, "Oh, this might be." And then turn the page and you see the Tony Stark style mustache.
Yeah.
On him, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the type of Batman that I love to read." So, but no, it feels like this could have been like a 2 to 3 episode arc later on during Batman the Animated Series. Not during the Golden Era where we have like Heart of Ice and On Leather Wings.
No, I get what you mean, especially with Alfred being so quippy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Quippy Alfred. You know, I really like this issue because obviously, and then obviously from there it goes to the bridge and Gotham Girl go out to deal with it. Batman has his cool like car that splits in half, revealing
It's cool as fuck, isn't it?
the Bat Pod.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you still call it a Bat Pod, but Dark Knight has conditioned me to call it a Bat Pod now.
Bat Pod.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't really see the Bat Cycle anymore. So yeah, it is a Bat Pod.
It's got a really thick wheel actually. Yeah, it's a Bat Pod.
Yeah.
So they're saving the bridge, and I really like the moment after they've dealt with everything, and Batman leaves, and they have their nice little moment where she's like, "Well, let us see him leave. That's progress, right?"
Well, I also like that Batman trusted them when Alfred's like, the bridge won't be around in 4 minutes, and Batman's like, "No, it'll be there. It'll be there."
Yeah. I like that he figured out who they are. And I like that he, in a weird way, kind of approves of them, because they are kind of not dissimilar to either of them. Like, they're kind of like a weird amalgamation of his backstory with like backstory of like maybe Batgirl and like some of the Robins, like where they're inspired by him. They're in this crime, and like he almost trusts them because he understands their motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets that. He indirectly caused them, so it's they are a product. They're his responsibility.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about that like that. Whereas like Dick Grayson and stuff, he was very proactive in creating him. These guys are kind of self-made, like he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously this is all leading. We get a little bit of Hugo Strange narrating and stuff as we get to the end, and I do love that the cause of the bridge is actually a suicide bombing of someone who also, before they die, yells out the monster men are coming. I like that they were still building to that. It's a really nice build.
It really does feel like they're coming, doesn't it?
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah.
Well, and this is what comics are supposed to be. Whereas in other companies, you have just them telling these short stories that wrap up in 8 issues and you can just sell as a trade later. Here, they are seeding the
Shots fired.
I'm just saying, when you have an issue, when you have a new title come out, and 8 issues in, you're already bringing out volume 2, there's only one reason you're doing that, you know? And it's all monetary. It's not creative. Like, it doesn't do the creatives any good, because it's the same people.
Yeah, actually, it's weird that it's a bit of a novelty now at certain other companies to get to issue 15 of a series without it relaunching.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, Jason Aaron's Thor has been my favorite book since he's been on it, but we're on the 3rd series of it. You know, we had God of Thunder, then we had just Thor, and now we have the Mighty Thor, and we have the Unworthy Thor coming, and it's just like, we know what you're doing, guys. Like,
I mean, I'll give them
the trades.
I'll give them Unworthy Thor because that's like a separate book in addition to the series, but you're still right.
And you could also argue Mighty God of Thunder into Thor.
Because it was a different character.
Yeah.
Different character, but then why the Mighty Thor? That would have been like now them setting up Monster Men and then going, oh no, Batman and the Monster Men's its own book now. And we're going to start it in issue 1. So I came up reading comics under Johns who would do this in Flash. Like you'd meet a character in the first story arc and they'd become either an ally or a villain in the 4th. You know? And so it's consistent storytelling. And that's what they're doing here. We had the guy that killed himself in Gordon's office in the last one, right? Crying or screaming about the Monster Men. Now you have the suicide bomber on the bridge. We have Hugo Strange, you know.
Yep,
and Tom is...
There you go.
Go ahead. I was going to say, Tom King's not writing Monster Men, right? That's another writer coming in.
It's Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando's doing that.
So again, that's... For everyone that was complaining about the editorial at DC, at least as far as Batman's concerned, they're all on the same page.
Yeah, they're clearly communicating very well.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of that.
That's great.
It feels the same with Superman as well. It feels like those books are working well together, and we'll hopefully see that even more so once we've got Supergirl and Superwoman and all these other things like coming out. But so yeah, the book ends with so Hugo Strange has lured Gotham and Gotham Girl to this building with. He's also got Psycho Pirate there with him.
Oh, Psycho Pirate showed up and I geeked out.
Yeah, so that
you really only see Psycho Pirate at a crisis.
Yeah, that's how the book has a cliffhanger, and I'm really enjoying this arc. I'm really enjoying Batman, and if with it is this is the lesser of the 2 Batman books, but it's still really good. So you know, whatever.
And they each have their own flavor. Detective feels like its own thing. Batman feels like its own thing. It doesn't feel like one's feeding the other like it used to be.
Now, if you paid, now obviously we talked about the solicits last week because they leaked early. Now the officially came out this week. There was obviously the trades get added. We don't really talk about the trades, and they added the collectibles and stuff that they add with the official ones. But if you read the solicits for the, and we did talk about this last week, the solicit for issue, the first one after Monster Men, I can't remember what number it is, and you read who was involved. I would think that a certain character's not going to make it past this arc, and I won't spoil it just in case. But if you want to go read between the lines and read the solicit,
Yeah.
and I'm happy that the one that won't make it is the one that might not make it because I just for reasons. And again, if I said what reasons were, you would get what I'm saying. But I don't want to spoil future issues from speculation. So, but no, Batman issue 3, really good. Best issue of the series so far, I think, for me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, that'll take us on to the other big guy at DC, Superman issue 3, written by Peter J. Tomasi and art by Patrick Gleason, with a bit of a mix between the two, because they like to mix and match their creating credits. Now,
Yeah.
this is going to sound negative, what I'm about to say, and it really isn't. But this is the weakest issue of this so far.
Yeah, well, it's because he has to explain the Eradicator.
Yeah.
Because to new readers, like, to a reader that's been reading as long as I have and is so steeped in Superman mythos, the Eradicator still gets me as, like, why are we still talking about the Eradicator? You know? And so here I like the spin that they put on it, because it is still very New 52. You know?
Yeah.
I think he's fair. I actually don't think there's anything wrong with this issue. It is just kind of a case of, okay, we need this chapter to explain the villain and set things up for more.
Yeah.
And it's less of a personal story than the last two were. That said, the action when he starts fighting Eradicator's cool.
Oh my god, some of
And
my
that
favorite
last
stuff.
page.
Well, there's that, and there's a splash page when he goes and Eradicator's kind of threatened John, and you just get the shadowy version of Superman with the red eyes. Like, you know he's gonna fuck shit up. And that's one of my favorite images of Superman. Anytime he's angry and his eyes are just going red, because he's usually so even keel and just like, well, we'll figure this out. That you've elicited that response. It's bad news.
Yeah.
So.
But you know, Superman try to like struggle with, like, he thinks he knows who Eradicator is, and he,
Yep.
you know, he's trying to, like, is he as bad as the one that I knew, and so on. He's like, this is like a weird new version of him. So that stuff was interesting, kind of like what the narration with Doomsday's been like in action a little bit, almost.
Yeah.
Although here it doesn't last as long, of course, because when he gets to the end and he realizes what he wants to
Yeah.
do. We also see Zod in a panel, which is cool, because he's like, Eradicator's explaining who built him and what his protocols are, and
Which I do like, because up till now, Eradicator's just been still a Kryptonian piece of science. But it was, you know, along the same lines, but it makes sense to tie it into Zod, who is kind of just about Kryptonian purity.
yeah. You know, I actually quite like this design of Zod as well. Because I don't even remember the last time I seen Zod, to be honest.
Last time I remember Zod was in the Villains month.
I never read the villains
Yeah.
issues, but yeah.
But
I
he
really
really
like
wasn't
that.
like... They were using Zod kind of as a boogeyman for Supergirl and Doomsday. Like, they used all of that type of stuff. But the last time he was used regularly was World of New Krypton, which was probably 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah, that's a while ago now.
So Rocha was still writing Action Comics. That's the last time.
It means we're due a Zod story soon then.
Pretty
basically.
much, I'm sure we'll get one in the next few arcs of Superman or Action, whatever one they want to.
Well, I'll be more open to Tomasi, but after Man of Steel, I don't want to see Zod for a very long while.
I get that, but this is Zod with a goatee, so it's fine.
Oh, yeah. Not just a chin beard like me. Like, he's got a full goatee.
He's
Kind of stamp style.
I actually kind of like how he's got kind of a Ra's al Ghul look to him.
Yeah.
And he's got the cape with
Well,
the emblem on the
He
shoulder.
really should be Superman Ra's al Ghul, right? Because he wants Superman to be more and to follow his lead. I didn't really pick up on that until Pete just said that. Like, they have a lot in common.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
Yeah.
But no, so it just explains Eradicator's backstory. There's not even a whole lot to say. It's fine. Like, it's fine set up. It's fine backstory. You know, when Krypton was destroyed, they didn't really know what to do, so you know, he just defaulted to try to find, like, the ship that he's seen and, you know, all that. It's all fine. Like, it's just not. the last two issues had real good, like, big moments. You know, John opening the thing and using his heat vision, the cat and the neighbor, like all this personal stuff, all just felt really special. Whereas
much
this
more
one,
character pieces than here, which is plot. Yeah.
And it's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It has to have an issue like this so that we can have.
It's still well done for what it is.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Yeah. And guys, just assure me that Crypto's okay.
Well, yeah, that's probably the big moment we have to talk about is for the second time now in this series, and in 3 issues, we now have 2 pets that have presumably bit the dust. Crypto, who's been in the fortress, apparently.
It's not even the same Crypto that we got set up with a big wolf dog. This is traditional Crypto, which that's weird, but you know,
they're all just there hanging around the fortress. There's Crypto, Crypto 2, Crypto 3.
Yeah. But Crypto's drawn very well. Actually, I liked his expressions during all this, and John being pissed that Eradicators apparently just ate him whole. And him doing the whole angry heat vision thing at the end was pretty cool.
It's where he grabs the cape that's the best bit.
Yeah, he grabs the cape. Oh, how badass is that if that's going to be his cape?
I think it is.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Oh, that is actually really
that's
badass.
why I want Crypto to be okay. But see, knowing from the solicits, I know Crypto's on Dinosaur Island somewhere.
Yeah, Crypto's on the cover of issue 8, I think it is. So I feel like Crypto will come out in the end okay. But I like the.
Because you got to remember too that the Eradicator is a gateway to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do really like the idea that Crypto's cape will be John's cape.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's a really nice touch.
Yeah, all around good issue. Not as great as the other ones, but still.
Yeah, no, it's a solid issue. It's just kind of like, right, they can't all be the 9s out of 10s. Occasionally we have to dip to an 8 to explain some plot. You know.
8.5.
And that's okay. Like, you know, we don't rate on this show, but that's kind of where my mind's at with it.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's Superman issue 3. That'll take us on to Justice League issue 1, written by Bryan Hitch, but this time the art is by Tony S. Daniel, and which is nice because they are, I mean, you know, big improvement from the Rebirth issue, and I think in general, I think this is an improvement from the Rebirth issue, continuing that trend of issue 1s improving upon Rebirth issues. I liked how this felt really epic. I wasn't actually expecting that. But it feels like there's something going on over the entire planet, and all the heroes are trying to figure out what's going on. And we got some nice different points of view. It started with Wonder Woman's point of view, and she had some good narration. He seemed to have the voice down. She had a lightning bolt power.
How cool is that lightning bolt thing? Like, seriously.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty
cool. Love it.
Just when she lands and everything just gets fucked up. Yeah, it's so cool.
I like the design of her shield here as well, with the gold eagle on the red background. Looks really cool.
Yeah, it does look nice.
So now the art's very good. Like, Tony Daniel, much better artist than as a writer.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, no question. No question. So, now, really liked all that. It cuts to Simon and Jessica. They're in Beijing, actually. I'm just looking at it. Yeah, Beijing.
Yeah.
And they're trying to use their powers to, like, stop everything from happening, you know, keep all the buildings up while the earthquakes are going off and all that. And they're like, oh, we need to try and find the other guys. Cyborg's calling some shots. And Cyborg's alright in this issue. Like, you know, one of the concerns you might have is that he's just going to be the telephone pole that he's been for whatever time.
Yeah, he's the operator.
But he actually gets stuck in.
Yeah, he gets stuck in. He does his whole football tackle with a subway train.
And I like that because sometimes you forget that he was an athlete. You know,
because they play up so much the tech that you forget he has a human side sometimes.
And I did like that. That was probably my favorite part of the issue is when he says that. He goes, yeah, I was supposed to go to college on a football scholarship.
Yeah. No, so, I agree with that. Cool double page spread of the Flash, like round about saving people. Daniel's art makes the Flash look really cool, so that was nice. And if it sounds like I'm just racing through this, it's because it is just a lot of action happening. There's not a whole lot of... Now, one thing I will mention is we cut to Aquaman and what's going on in Atlantis while all this is going down, all these big earthquakes. Atlantis is basically totaled. Like, Atlantis is fucked.
Well, between Hitch and Abnett, there's no hope for Atlantis.
No, it's not looking good for their future.
It's not. This is why I'm interested in seeing where this will end up. Like, I hope that when we get to the second arcs of all the other books that they reference this arc in Justice League, unless it's retconned in some way, like with magic or whatever they do. But just because they kind of have to mention that Atlantis got told. They kind of have to mention that all these things are happening all over the world at some point. So, and I'm fine with them. Yeah. Obviously, everything can't be happening at the exact same time. So,
it is interesting because I was thinking of the timeline. Because in this, Jessica still can't create constructs.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, whereabouts is this? Because I assumed she was gonna get that relatively soon.
Yeah, well, I assume that that'll come. Maybe not in the first arc of Green Lantern, maybe that'll be the second arc.
Yeah,
we'll build to that for a while.
And I'd rather see her do that in Green Lanterns than in Justice League.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. I mean, it makes a nice block and it makes her stand out from the other Green Lanterns. Is that she's the one that can't do constructs because she does have agoraphobia. So it's like her willpower is a constant struggle with herself.
Also, it's nice that they kind of like focus away from Batman and Superman for most of the issue. Like Batman eventually sort of shows up, but it's quite far into the issue, and Superman's only seen from like a distance, like doing stuff, and they don't really know of this Superman yet. And Batman's just like, yeah, let him do his thing. He's helping,
Yeah, he saved the president. Let him keep doing what he does.
Yeah,
it's just kind of one of my biggest problems that I really wanted in this book to see them interact with Superman.
I'm sure we'll get it. It's just
I know, but I want it already.
I like that though because it puts Superman up kind of on a pedestal because they are not trusting him, but he hasn't given a reason them not to, other than he's a new Superman. They watched the other one powderize, or vaporize earlier. So, again, he hasn't proven to be a threat, so I treat him like a threat. Just, let him do his thing.
Yeah, I agree. But no, art's really good. Whatever this thing is, it's shooting out things, it's taking control of people. It's a decent enough threat. They're called the Kindred, I believe, is the name. And it's basically just ends with Wonder Woman saying, look, we're coming for you. We're mobilising because of the goddamn Justice League. So if I have a complaint, really, it is just that the cliffhanger feels a little bit weird. Like, it doesn't feel like that much of a cliffhanger. It's almost like they didn't really have a cliffhanger, so they just... I write a bit of badass dialogue for Wonder Woman, and that can end there.
That's the thing. I don't think it doesn't play as a cliffhanger, though. I don't think it's intended to be.
Well, you know what I mean. I guess what I'm saying, not cliffhanger. It doesn't feel like as much of a hook as an issue usually ends with. I know it's not always a cliffhanger. Sometimes it's a somber moment, or sometimes it's a.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean.
So I love Paige yelling.
Ultroning. Ultroning.
Yeah, I do think it was weird how epic this was because I was expecting a much smaller scale story given the Rebirth issue. Even though that was like a big massive monster destroying shit, it felt small for Justice League.
Whereas this feels like big. It feels epic.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that at all. But Tony Daniels can clearly handle making it feel that way.
Yeah,
much better artist than writer.
Yeah. And I enjoyed the Rebirth issue for what it was. It wasn't great, but it was like a sort of fun romp, and this just kind of was that bit better. I mean, it's still not special, but I'm enjoying it. Like, the characters' voices seem to be down, and the action's pretty good. So
it's not like this is something that's going to be remembered as a must read at this stage, but it's worth reading now.
I would be highly surprised if it ever makes my top book of the week, but it's always going to be enjoyable in the middle somewhere.
And that's what a Justice League book should be. It shouldn't, it should be just kind of like a fun blockbuster versus, all this major stuff happening that Johns was doing. And I hate to keep comparing it to New 52 stuff, but that's kind of what we have to do.
Yeah.
That was the last iteration.
John's sometimes it worked. I really like Forever Evil, and sometimes it just felt a bit like, oh, you're forcing this a bit too much.
Yeah,
like Darkseid War.
I think the thing is, for the New 52, Justice League was the flagship book, whereas now it's just not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Now we have Superman and Batman and Detective Comics and Action Comics, and if that's going to be the case, then I'm cool.
Yeah.
Those are the books that kind of built DC, right?
Yeah, no, they are. DC would be bankrupt and not existing if it wasn't for those four.
Yep.
And, over the, decades, so... No, that's Justice League. I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yep.
So, yeah. That'll take us on to Green Arrow issue 3, written by Benjamin Percy. Art is now changed to Jean E. Ferreyra. if I'm saying that remotely right. Probably not.
And nothing against this guy, but he's no Otto Schmidt.
See, obviously they're very different, right? But I actually really like the art in this book. Like,
there's nothing wrong with it. I like the Sean Murphy-esque, liney, gritty, that Schmidt brings to it. I feel it not compels. What the hell was that about? It lines up well with this version of Green Arrow.
See, I get you saying that, but I might like this a bit more than Schmidt.
Ah, Pete.
No. See, the thing is, I think this is very good. And if this had been all 3 issues, I'd say, yeah, this was really good.
Yeah.
But after Schmidt, it feels like a bit of a step down.
I'll never feels like a step down to me.
I think it's a sidestep. I definitely think it's, those familiar with sports, it's like a stutter step to where you're not losing any ground, but it's just not the same. You're not going forward.
Yeah.
I thought the art in this was great. Like, I really liked it. I loved the sense of movement that was constantly there. Love the colours, as some of them. I mean, that's always been good anyway. Like, I'm not dissing the previous art. I mean, you heard me praise Schmidt, repeatedly.
I just think it's a personal taste thing. Also, the coloring here, it's very Manipul-esque. Like,
is it the same colorist?
I don't think so. If it is, it makes the art look different. You know what I mean? Because this art's a lot cleaner, too. Is what I think is what. Not what messes with me, but
I love the art. I actually think this is the best issue since the Rebirth issue. I like this more than the last 2.
No, I think it's about the same. I would say I like it more or less.
Because I think the opening of him like breaking into the Queen Tower building.
Yeah, I did really like that heist scene.
I loved that. Everything about that, the movement from every panel, the way that it told the story. Like, through everything, like, as he's breaking out of the elevator shaft, and, like, each part of it's, like, sort of building upon itself. I felt the movement the entire time, and I really loved that. It made it feel really exciting to me. Meantime, we build up the villains a little bit. Diggle's investigating.
I didn't get that as Diggle. Like, I knew it was supposed to be Diggle, but this does not look like the Diggle we saw in the last issue. That was part of the problem I had with the art.
It's maybe just expected when you've got a change of artist, I guess.
I guess, but
I do know what you mean. The character should still be instantly recognizable as the same character. You shouldn't have to think about it.
I don't have that problem with anyone else, though. Everyone else.
No, exactly. Diggle was the only one that I had issue with. So, but no, I like the whole Ninth Circle stuff, and that the guy running it is Dante, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool touch. Yeah. And then Virgil, another one. Another famous old school writer, who wrote the Aeneid, right?
Well, it's Dante's brother, right?
I think so.
In that story, like, Dante's brother's Virgil. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. So there was all that little stuff, and Broderick and his creepy arrow-looking mask.
Yeah, he's got his mask and all his evil plot and all that. I like Black Canary's, like, investigating stuff. I loved that when, like, Oliver jumps out the window in the building, and then he turns the page, and Black Canary's, like, questioning that guy at the docks. Yeah. You can see the explosion out the window, like, in the skyline in the background. I really liked that.
It was a nice touch.
It was a really nice transitional touch.
And here's my thing, too. How big is this Inferno boat? We talked about it last time.
Oh, it's huge.
Do you know what the worst thing is? Last week, or last issue, I thought it was like a submersible thing.
Yeah.
Where it was like, it goes down and up. No, it's not, is it? No. It's like a fucking island.
Yeah, I mentioned how big it was last time, didn't I? I was like...
Yeah, but the way that they drew it, it looked like it was popping up out of nowhere, not like they came up on it. So here, when I see how big it is compared to a container ship, which I don't know if you guys have seen container ships up close.
Yeah.
But they're massive, so they do a good job at showing the scale.
Yeah.
Of this issue.
See, I never got that last time. I just got that it was this big before. So
see that, I really thought it was like a submersible thing before, where it pops up out of the water, and that's why it doesn't get seen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like that this time. It looks like it is just there.
Like, I'm getting Red Skull vibes from Dante. I don't know if it's just because he's grotesque looking.
I'm getting Nemesis from Resident Evil 3 vibes. And
there you go.
If anyone's played Resident Evil 3 and knows what Nemesis looks like, it's Nemesis in a 3-piece suit, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Really, really weird. But
But again, this is what Ben Percy does is he takes storylines that when you try to explain them seem like insane. Like here, we're gonna have a dude with a melted face named Dante, and he runs this group called Inferno, and they live out on this like floating island in the middle of the ocean, and they're gonna frame Oliver Queen and stuff. And I'm like thinking about it, I was like, that makes no sense. But as you're reading it, you're kind of like, okay, I like where this is going.
It just works when you read it,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like Oliver in the last run becoming a werewolf. Why? Because
Just
he had a
does.
story he wanted to tell about a werewolf disease. You know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I did enjoy it. Like Green Arrow's been very enjoyable. I don't think it's in my top 5 that I'm getting from DC right now, but it is still very enjoyable.
There's more fun action sequences as well when he gets down onto like when Green Arrow gets down onto the street and Shadow's chasing him. Like everything on the bus and like all the speed lines of everything moving past. Like you really get a sense of the movement again, and I really like all that stuff. But the issue ends because Black Canary's like tracked, or she's like hidden the boat that takes stuff out to Inferno, and Emmy like points it out, and she's like, "Oh, we can use me and her as bait." And like, given the last issue, I thought she intentionally put a tracker on Oliver.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, like, is she still secretly a good guy? Like, what's going on here? Like,
I think so.
I think so too, but no, it was a good cliffhanger, and I think
Because
it's
if they send Shadow out there, Shadow's going to kill Dinah,
yeah.
right?
I like how
If they
she was
send
just
Emmy,
stood on it though, like on the front
Yeah.
of the ship.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a badass pose. She's like,
But how long has she been in that pose?
Since she left, just to be ready,
yeah, she's
she knows how to make an entrance.
just up there, like she's like Titanic. She just wants to be up there and like posing on the edge of the ship.
Hey, she's the queen of the world, all right?
Clearly.
Yeah. No, I really like that. That was probably my favorite issue of Green Arrow yet. Maybe tying with the Rebirth issue. But no, really good. All right, sticking with green, let's go over to Green Lanterns issue 3. Written by Sam Humphries and art by, brace yourself, there's 4 names here. Robson, Rocha, Neil Edwards, Jack Herbert, and Tom Derenick, all helping with pencils. So I don't know if they were running late and maybe they had to get some help in to finish things up. But
I will say, I don't think it suffers that much for it though.
yeah, to its credit, I never when I read it, I never went, "Oh, what's all this art changing constantly?" I didn't feel like that. So
Yeah.
maybe if I go through it again with that in mind and like really look for it, maybe I'll notice it. But it didn't seem to work too badly. Dexter's in this, so it gets an instant point for that. So
All it takes.
yeah, Red Lantern Cat. That's all everyone wants in life. Yeah, Red Lantern stuff I'm still not overly feeling. That said, again, kind of like the last issue, I kind of enjoyed it anyway. Mainly because I liked all the stuff in the they're fighting in a city, so there's context. Part of the problem with a lot of Green Lantern stuff in the last couple of years has been that all the fights just take place in space, so there's never any location or sense of geography. Whereas here they're actually in the middle of a city and they're fighting around buildings and stuff, so I at least had fun that way. And they did introduce some interesting ideas. Like, I almost wanted Bleeze to stay cured from the rage.
But now she's got a taste of it, of what it's like to be cured.
True.
So I think we're gonna get a cool character arc out of her, which I think might be the best thing they can do. So if we're gonna have the color core stay around, at least let's do something interesting with them. Like I can see coming out of this, Atrocitus falling and her like creating a new version of the Red Lantern Corps.
So kind of
Well,
what
they-
happened in Soul's Run then with what Guy Gardner did.
God damn it, great!
Yeah.
All the same shit, just a different thing. Because I had no
He
idea.
kind of he kicked out Atrocitus and kind of reformed them a bit.
Yeah, that's all news to me.
Yeah, because I like
be
the idea of
honest.
her, talking about justice versus vengeance, and that you can be rightfully or righteous. You can have a righteous rage, right? And like what happened to her and what caused her to get the core or the Red Lantern core ring, and the fact that she could still kind of maintain things, but she said like the pounding was gone. So it like freed up her mind. I thought there were some really cool concepts worked in here.
I did. for me, I think what's interesting about it is we never really knew who any of these Red Lanterns were before they became Red Lanterns. So I like the idea that we get to discover who this character is or was. Like that's much more interesting to me than as her as actually just being Bleeze. Like, you know, like, oh wait, she actually has a character. Oh, let's explore that maybe.
Yeah.
So I hope that's not the end of this. I hope we actually get more in that kind of line of thought at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, Simon seems to have even more new powers, while Jess is struggling to have the ones that most Green Lanterns have.
Sure. Well, and I like how he points that out. He's like, you can't even maintain a construct. Leave this to me. And Simon's slowly edging up to my favorite Lantern just because he's kind of a dick. We're in a different way than Constantine, like we talked about this earlier. But like, and I like Guy Gardner because at the end of the day, you know, it's just a front, and I feel the same with Baz. Is at the end of the day, he wants to deliver that teddy bear to his nephew or niece, nephew,
I think.
nephew. Yeah. So, you know, and this stuff's just getting in his way.
Yeah, I like that. I like them screaming at each other. I mean, the characters of those two have mostly been the best. Even if some of the dialogue is a bit, you know, here or there, it's a little bit forced. Like, I have to admit, it's not the best dialogue in the world. But
no, and I'll forgive that for the ideas that Humphries is putting forward here, like the Emerald Sight and Bleeze's transformation, the Hell Seed idea, which you know is gonna fail because we had to issue 7. They're still having Halloween.
Yeah, I'll let Connor be negative in a minute because I can tell that he's itching to be. One thing I want to mention before he does though, I really like the scene where Simon's family comes home and that Guardian's like sitting there. And I like how out of touch he is. He's like, right, I believe there's a Green Lantern here. It may not be Hal, though. Maybe that new one. What's his name? John Stewart, is it? Yeah, you're just 30 years late to the party.
Yeah. Which means, what has he been doing since Hal's been a GL? Like, he's been out in deep space hiding something.
Also, I believe this might be the Guardian that goes trick-or-treating with Simon and his family in issue 8, and I'm looking forward to that.
I hope so, because I love that Simon's brother-in-law / best friend is like, you need to call him right now. Yeah. There's something in our house. And then when he finds out the Guardian, he double downs on it even more.
Yeah. Now, I still have some issues with the start Red Lantern stuff, and I'm definitely not liking this as much as most of the other books. But the one thing that I dislike the most about this issue is the cliffhanger, because it makes me not look forward to the next issue at all. Because the cliffhanger is that Jessica gets infected with this red rage like thing that's going on because of this whole tower and all that. And the best thing about this book are the characters, and I would say Jessica specifically is the best thing about this book. I like her a lot.
Okay.
And the idea of the next issue of her not being in character because she's infected with rage shit.
I feel like the idea of her being infected by the rage, that seemingly easily kind of weakens her a bit as a character as well.
Yeah. Well, we know she's in a really weird place because she can't make constructs because her willpower's shit and all that.
Yeah.
So it's something for her to overcome, and that's fine. But like, the best part of this book is these two playing off of each other and taking her out of that equation for even if it's just one issue, which it probably will be, maybe 1 or 2. It does not excite me for that next issue, but I did mostly enjoy this one.
See, this is the thing. While I do enjoy those two characters, and they are the best part of the book, they're the only part of the book at the minute that I like. Whereas to the point where I actually fell asleep reading this the first time because it was too much red. I just couldn't.
Connor, don't read it that late, then, man.
It wasn't that late. It was like 11 p.m.
He's having a rough week. He's moving house. He get back from celebration. He's all tired. The poor ginger.
It's just it was too much red, and I just fell asleep. And it's just like, ugh, I can't.
I mean, I get that. I read Birds of Prey at 4:30 in the morning, getting up to go to work. So.
I'm literally just reading this, hanging on till all the red stuff's gone and we can get on with the stuff I actually want to read. Yeah.
See, I wish this wasn't a double shipper and they just alternated it with Hal and Green Lantern Corps.
At the same time, though, it'd mean we'd be on this red arc for 6-7 months.
If I was on this red arc for that long, I wouldn't.
God damn it. I hate when you guys make sense.
Because at least with a double shipping, we'll get through this arc. And then
that is literally the only thing that's kept me reading this. It's like, well, this will be over soon, and I can get to some fun stuff.
But yeah, again, for me, the character stuff outweighs all of that other
It has done in all the other issues, but at this point now, it's getting to the point where that's not enough. where it's the red stuff's just getting overwhelming, and it's like, ugh, I need something different.
Well, I think we've got another 3 issues of it, so
That much.
three or 4. I don't know if it's 6 or 7 issues this arc, but we can see how that goes when we get there. So that's Green Lantern's issue 3, and then which will lead us on to the the 8th and final book of the week. I'm still thinking it's like 3 weeks ago when we only had 5 books.
That's fine.
And that is Aquaman issue 3 with Dan Abnett writing and Phil Briones, I'm just guessing how to pronounce that, on art. And this was not bad. Aquaman, I think, has continued to be a consistent, enjoyable book that's always kind of in the lower tier of my kind of like week, if that makes sense.
For me, this was my least favorite of the 3 plus the Rebirth. So I just something switched, like Merc getting hyper aggressive, and them just like closing the embassy despite them knowing what Aquaman's all about. Like, see, I don't know. It seems like there's plot contrivances just to have them there.
See, I don't feel like they're.
I can understand it. I feel like for me, like this is like Aquaman's trying to do all this stuff, and no matter how hard he tries, it's kind of crumbling in and of itself. And
right,
I kind of like that he's in that struggle.
Yeah, but we've had that since Abnett's been writing it. You know.
Yeah. See, the thing I'm looking forward to is Black Manta finding out that his attack caused all this trouble. Because it's kind of like he won anyway. Even if he didn't kill him, he caused him so much trouble that it just doesn't matter.
And Matt, you say that that's been happening since Abnett's been writing, but that was only one arc before this Rebirth stuff started.
No, and I get that, but I feel like what really put this over the top with me with not liking it was when they talked with the President's Chief of Staff, and he was just very aggressive. You know, where we've had one arc of Spindrift, and it's like, oh no, this is going to keep happening because you're Aquaman. Like, Throne of Atlantis. That happened. And I was like, well, you guys were okay with them building Spindrift. And it wasn't an issue with Throne of Atlantis. Now it is. Like, you had to know it was going to be a target. And then the government coming and taking it over. And I just feel, again, there's a lot of contrivances just for them to be there instead of having them happen organically. You know? Like, why not have Atlantis take over Spindrift and tell the government to F off? You know? Because it was an attack on them by an American, not the other way around.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, all of it feels completely viable to me. Like, given how the world actually works.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it shouldn't be like that, but I get it.
Like, this is the sort of thing that would happen in real life if this all happened, and we'd all be going, "No, that's kind of bullshit," but we expect it of them.
I also kind of feel if this was real life, if we're going to use that, then it would have been a bigger deal for him to build an embassy on American soil.
True.
So that's all. Like, suddenly it's an issue that he built an embassy, whereas where was the government when he was doing it? Or did he just do it and be like, deal with it, bitch? You know, I'm going to do what I want, and now it's falling out. But that's not Aquaman's attitude. He wants to build a bridge, as he keeps saying, you know?
Well, I mean, they did make it feel like it was delicate to begin with, though, and he pushed for this like station, and it happened. And now that it's immediately caused trouble, like within the first day of it opening, like I can get where they're coming from. Like we have to.
I do too, but I feel like they're just again like had it not had the government scene, had the Waller-esque character just showed up, it was like, hey, we need to shut it down for a couple, get to the bottom of this. But then and it ending with Aquaman being arrested by the U.S. government, I thought was a little like again, it's the Man of Steel problem. We're gonna treat this guy who only has good intentions like, for lack of a better term, an alien, and that's his only thing. Let's not mind the fact that he saved the world a million times with the Justice League.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I feel like, realistically though, in this continuity right now, it's not actually been that long since like Throne of Atlantis, and he's not been around in the public eye that long, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I get where
it's also worth remembering that the public laughs at Aquaman as well. They don't take him that seriously until before Throne of Atlantis, at least.
Right.
So it was kind of a joke, or it was overlooked, and then you have this event that's really devastating to them. So suddenly he appears scary.
Yeah, well, they also set that up in the beginning of this arc. There's an issue 1 of Rebirth, how no one takes him seriously still. Like they have
Yeah.
cartoons about him and all this other stuff. So yeah, I just felt uneven and just again hate to use the word again, but contrivances that are just there to propel the story. That just me, and I'm not a professional writer, but I just there's other ways to do it cleanly that don't end up with him being arrested in the White House.
I get it. It didn't rub me the wrong way as it seems to have done you.
Yeah.
For me, just kind of I went with the flow. Not to
I
use
will agree that it
pun.
was probably the weakest issue,
Yeah.
but I definitely didn't dislike it to the extent that you did.
Oh no, yeah, I'm still gonna keep reading it. Like I'm still like you said, Connor. I want to know how Black Manta is gonna react, and even that group that took him in, he wasn't down with them even.
Yeah,
Like I like the idea that Black Manta is kind of like a lone wolf that's only out to destroy Aquaman's life. Like he has no other
yeah.
purposes in life. So
Speaking of that group, they're called Nemo, and the woman specifically who's got the dead shot eye is called Blackjack.
mhm.
I'm not sure I'm
Very-
really feeling this group, to be honest.
I'm not. They feel like Hydra adjace.
They feel like they'll be around for an arc to be villains or whatever, and not be a big deal after that. That said, though, I'm not entirely against the name Nemo, just for the
With the 20,000 leagues
yeah. That's fine.
reference and whatnot. Yeah, that's cool. That's not my issue. I just like the disposable guards and her. Like she
They,
seems
they
a lot.
all just feel like knockoffs, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, like you say, it's Black Manta's reaction and him reacting to them
Yeah.
that's the more fun part of it. So
Mhm.
I think in that level, it's fine. I do like that Aquaman just shows up to the White House at the front door. Like, I wish to speak to the president. Like, it works like that.
I like how he thinks they'll let him in with the trident and everything.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and even the chief of staff's like, "Hey, we get it, you're royalty, but there are still protocols that we have to go through, dude."
As he's saying that, when he's talking to the chief of staff,
Mm.
where is his trident? Did he surrender it when he got in through the
I guess
front
he did.
door?
Probably.
Now, I don't have to. If I have to agree with one complaint about the whole handcuff thing at the end, I don't necessarily have a problem with him being charted off in handcuffs. I like the idea that he's willing to go along with the system to prove that he's like playing ball. But the one part of it I don't like is that through all of Jonesy's run and through everything so far, I will agree that it's been one too many times where people from within Atlantis are setting up Aquaman or doing something to get him in trouble with the surface.
I'm not sure it is this time.
Oh, go on.
I think it could be someone else claiming it's Atlantis because they're saying they've received a message that Atlantis have claimed it, but I think it could be someone else saying
Well-
it's Atlantis.
Well, fair enough, but even if it is, it's still my complaint still kind of lands that the overall thing of like
yeah,
the relationship being strained because of something happening, whether it actually is someone from Atlantis or someone else underwater or whatever, you know,
Right.
like that feels a bit too samey. So we'll just see where that goes next issue. But
Well, and then yeah, and you have the drift showing back up at the end, causing problems.
yeah.
But yeah, it's fine, and it's not worth. I mean, I'm not gonna stop reading Aquaman because of this issue.
Yeah, it was still decent, but it was definitely
Yeah.
weaker.
yeah, like it's kind of like it's in that sort of weird, like it's fine, kind of near the bottom of your pile, but
Yep.
if this is the lower end of your list, then it's like you've got a pretty decent list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, nah, it was fine. Like, I agree with it. It's probably not it's definitely not the strongest. I liked issue 1's probably still the strongest for me. I think,
But the whole Black Manta impersonating a Daily Planet reporter,
yeah,
that whole
Yeah.
thing.
yeah, I really like that issue. So, now we'll see where it goes. But Abnett's a pretty decent writer, so we'll see where he takes it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all 8 books. So, I guess that leaves 2 rankings, which we're going to stop doing all the books because we're getting to a point now where there's too many of them. So, top 5s. Do your top 5 books. If you want to mention what your bottom book is as well, if you want to give a last place to something, by all means, you can do that too. But we'll do top 5s. I think I will go first because things are shaking up. My pattern of swapping between Superman and Detective Comics has finally changed.
Oh no, he put Hellblazer #1. Pete, what have you done?
Don't worry, there was no danger of that, Matt.
Gotcha.
No, #1 for me, for the first time, is going to be Green Arrow. I really like that
Whoa,
issue.
was not expecting that.
Oh, me either.
I really like that issue.
Oh.
Favorite so far, and that combined with Superman having a slightly not as amazing issue this week,
Yeah.
put Green Arrow in number 1, and then number 2, I'm going to say Batman issue 3. Again, best issue of Batman so far, I think. Really like what they did with the characters there. Number 3, I'm going to go with Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, because art issues aside, I did really like having Babs back like that, and her relationship with Dinah, the banter. It's got me really excited for the book outside of the art complaints. So don't get me wrong, I think I'm looking forward to Batgirl's solo book a lot more, but I did enjoy that. And then I would probably put Superman issue 3 at number 4, and wrap it up in number 5 with Justice League, which was enjoyably epic and good fun, good art. So now, and last place is Hellblazer, without even thinking about it. I just didn't care. So, Matt, why don't you? And I'm almost expecting you to break your pattern of always picking Superman here as well. Let's see if I'm disappointed or not.
Yeah, you are, because I'm not, because I still the crypto in Red Eye Superman. Come on,
That's
man.
it. It's never happening. If it didn't happen with this issue, it's never gonna.
You don't know that though. I mean, something with that man.
Here's the question. The real question is
Monster Man. It hasn't happened yet. Like, come on.
But here's the question: what's going to cause it? Is it going to be something else just being that amazing that week, or is it because Superman has a kind of a weak issue that week? You know, what's it going to take?
They'll be both at the same time.
Yeah, the stars are going to have to align.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm high on Monster Man just already. So
all right, well, I look forward to.
It could be Monster Man. But yeah, so Superman is the reasons I said. The art, even though it wasn't Gleason on art, is another guy, Jorge Jimenez. The art was still, I thought, really well done. Like, the layouts were great. And then Batman, because matches Malone. Like, come on, it was great seeing him. And the Gotham Girl stuff was real nice. And then I'll go... This one's tough. If I want to go... I guess I'll put Green Arrow there, because it's been consistent. And then I'll go Justice League, for the reasons that we all talked about. It was like this big, fun blockbuster. And then Green Lanterns, because even though it's not the best book, I am enjoying it for what Humphries is doing with character work. Like, again, the dialogue's kind of wonky and the Red Lantern stuff's there, but I feel like there's more potential to this book. That once we get out of this and he gets established, it's going to soar.
Do you know what I like about just doing top 5s now is now we can say something like I'm surprised that Green Lantern's charted for Matt.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
We can do that now. We can this never charts for me, but this week, Aquaman,
give it another month as well, and there'll be a lot that. Here we're only skipping a couple of books.
Yeah. But in a month's time, when we've got 10, 12 books a week, then now top 5 is like the cream of the crop as opposed to most of them.
Yeah.
So, and then if I had to put one at the bottom, and Peter already said Hellblazer, but that's too easy. I'm going to say Aquaman, because I was really disappointed in it. So, Hellblazer neck and neck. But again, I'm not going to go forward with Hellblazer like I am with Aquaman. So,
hey, it's about time we had some different opinions. So, speaking of different opinions, Connor.
This guy.
This guy. So, first, I'm going to go with Batman. Sorry, Matt. I know you don't want Batman at the top, but it was a great.
I get it. Batman's a great read.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll go with that. Second, Green Arrow. Third, what have we got? I think I'm gonna put Hellblazer in third. Then I'm gonna put Superman in fourth and Justice League fifth, and then Green Lanterns is last because that one made me fall asleep.
Yeah. I think it's more egregious that you put Hellblazer above Superman than me putting Superman number 1. That's just me. So
I mean, maybe I think Superman had it was a weaker issue. I really liked Hellblazer more than I was expecting to.
And interestingly, from everything we just said, all of us had different number 1s. All of us had different last places. I was the only person who charted Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. Matt was the only person who charted Green Lanterns. And you were the only person that charted Hellblazer, Connor. So, mixing it up.
Yeah, it was a pretty good variety going on there.
Mixing it up. Different opinions.
Six Flags used to have a thing: more flags, more fun. Here, it's more books, more what's not more fun, but we'll come up with a better slogan. Slogan.
We'll
God, I'm
work
distracted.
on that for next week.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that was
More
like
flags,
I
more
was like,
titles.
I was like watching someone like go to a shooting competition and somehow like just like instead of hitting the target, the shotgun's just in their own mouth. Like, what was that?
It's like in Robin Hood, but if I just fired into the crowd instead of trying to split the other arrow.
Oh, Jesus
It's like,
Christ.
oh, this is painless. So, what's coming next week, though, Pete?
That is an excellent question. Another big week for Rebirth. So coming next week, we get 2 new books once again. We have Batgirl issue 1, which I am super excited about. Fun stuff. Which this is actually, it's worth mentioning that Batgirl and the Birds of Prey is set after the first Batgirl arc, because it mentions at the start
Does.
that she's just back from her travels. So interesting. So Batgirl issue 1 next week, as well as Red Hood and the Outlaws Rebirth issue 1. So you know what? I was tempted to say, you know what? I'm going to read Hellblazer issue 1 just so that Red Hood would be the first one that I officially drop. But
Yeah.
there you go. It just came first.
Let's see if I can get through that in one sitting, or if that one might fall asleep too.
Yeah, by the infamous He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Yep.
You know, you have to do that when you're reading out the creatives on it next week as well. You're not allowed to say his name.
Oh no, I need to say it at least when I'm once.
Oh, I'm gonna say it when I yell it because I know I'm gonna yell it if something bad happens. You know.
So
I
that's
had
the
to
new-
stay away from his table at a Comic-Con this year because I couldn't trust myself.
Well, there you go. So yeah, new books are Batgirl issue 1 and Red Hood and the Outlaws Rebirth issue 1. Batgirl's not a Rebirth book issue; it's just straight to issue 1. Fair play. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth just kind of worked for both, I guess. So, so that's the 2 new books, and also of course next week we have Action Comics 960, Detective Comics 937, The Flash issue 3, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps issue 1, Nightwing issue 1, Titans issue 1. Titans is back. It feels like ages since we had Titans Rebirth.
It's been like a month, right?
Yeah, whole month.
That's the weird thing with this double shipping though, because these single ship ones just feel like you never see them.
Yeah, and then the last book next week is Wonder Woman issue 3. So, yeah, 9 books next week. Good fun.
No.
And we'll be covering them all next week. I'm pretty sure that after next week, Red Hood will be dropped from everyone's lists. But that's next
I
week.
just have the feeling like this is where we'll start trimming stuff. That's coming up now. You know, where we're not all gonna read all the books week in and week out unless it's a rebirth. So
Well, I mean, I think, to be honest, most of them so far, we will read all of them, except a few key
yeah, but
ones.
that's what I'm saying. I think that's gonna start now because we're starting to get out of just the main titles and we're getting onto smaller side stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, me and you aren't reading Hellblazer. Connor will read that. You know, and I'm sure there's a couple of other ones coming up that will clearly just appeal to 1 or 2 of us rather than all 3 of us. But yeah, that's what's coming up next week, and that just leaves us to plug things and stuff. Let us know what you thought of books in the comments below on YouTube, or tweet at us at mailed_fuzz. You can tweet at all of us individually. I'm at Wibble89, Connor's at ConnorRyan94, Matt's at MattofSteel57. Email us, mailedfuzz@gmail.com. Let's take this moment to plug our friend Tim Vergulis, who does the horror podcast with us. He's got a Kickstarter right now for his horror comic veterinary clinics. It's got animals in it and horror stuff. So check it out. It's on Kickstarter. It's doing really well. It's like at $1,700 out of $2,500 raised so far. So give it a look. Every dollar helps. Yeah, so that's me doing my bit for Tim. Otherwise, check out other stuff we've got. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're on the Mailed Fuzz TV channel, which has all of the weekly, almost cancelled TV reviews. We do a bunch of shows. Mr. Robot and the Night Of are the big standouts right now. Big Stranger Things season spoiler review coming soon as well. That'll be in the next couple of days. And check out the Mailed Fuzz Movies YouTube channel with the horror movie podcast Screams After Midnight and all the regular movie reviews on 1.21 gigawatts with me and Matt. Of course, a lot of that stuff can be get on your iTunes and your podcatchers, and all that stuff is audio downloads if you want it that way too. I just did all the plugs in record time.
It felt like it was in one breath as well.
Yeah, I fucking flew through that. Flew through that like Man of Steel Superman through a guy holding Lois with a gun to her head.
Right through the wall.
Through two walls.
You just vaporize those plugs. The Fanazone the hard way.
Yeah, that man is just mush now. Alright, that has been this week's episode. Thank you very much for watching and or listening. Help us out, give us a nice rating on iTunes, or even just tweet us out. Like, if you've got other friends who are into DC Comics, recommend us to them. We always appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate you just watching or listening. We really do. Liking and subscribing and all that jazz. All of it helps us in every little way. So thank you very much. We will see you next time on Comics from the Multiverse. And remember, guys, never get lost in the Speed Force.
And long live the Legion.